The massive viewing screen aboard the Defiant flickered momentarily, before displaying the vast emptiness of space, interrupted only by the distant pinpricks of stars. Admiral Jack Morrison stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of the ship's controls. The quiet hum of the bridge equipment was the only sound as the crew worked with practiced efficiency. "Status report," Morrison commanded, his voice steady despite the tension that had settled over the bridge since the first anomalous readings had appeared 3 hours ago. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez looked up from her console. "Sir, we're detecting unusual gravitational disturbances at the edge of the solar system. The patterns don't match anything in our database." Morrison nodded, his brow furrowing. "Keep monitoring. Alert Earth Command and maintain our patrol position." The year was 2235, and humanity had established itself throughout the solar system, with colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan. The United Planetary Defense Force, commanded from Earth's orbital station, had kept peace in the system for decades. Interstellar travel remained theoretical, with only experimental probes sent beyond the heliopause. Earth had detected signals from other civilizations, but had never made direct contact. Until today, in the underground White House Emergency Operations Center, President Lisa Carter stared at the holographic display showing the Defiant's position relative to the disturbance. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and the lines around her eyes betrayed her lack of sleep. She had been president for just 8 months, elected on a platform of expanding human presence beyond the solar system. Now, she faced a crisis no previous leader had encountered. "Dr. Walsh, what are we looking at?" Carter asked, turning to the woman standing beside her. Dr. Amy Walsh, the foremost expert on xenocultural studies, adjusted her glasses nervously. "Madam President, based on the energy readings, we're detecting what appears to be the formation of an artificial wormhole. If I'm correct, we're witnessing the arrival of an interstellar vessel, or vessels." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "How long?" Carter asked. "Minutes, perhaps," Walsh replied. Carter straightened her jacket and addressed the room filled with military and civilian leaders. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we've prepared for. If these are visitors from beyond our system, I want all protocols for first contact followed precisely. Admiral Jefferson, place all defense forces on alert status, but no aggressive posturing. Let's not start an interstellar incident on day 1. The tension in the room was palpable as they watched the holographic display. The gravitational anomaly grew, expanding into a swirling vortex at the edge of the solar system. Then, one by one, massive ships began to emerge, sleek, angular vessels that dwarfed humanity's largest spacecraft. "My God," someone whispered. Carter stared at the display, counting silently as more ships appeared. 10, 20, 50, 100. The count continued to rise until over 3,000 vessels had emerged, arranged in a precise formation that spoke of military discipline. "Madam President," her communications director called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel. It's being broadcast on all frequencies, in all Earth languages." Carter took a deep breath. "Put it through." The holographic display shifted, revealing a tall, humanoid figure with iridescent purple skin and 6 eyes arranged in a pattern across a face that seemed both familiar and alien. The being wore ornate armor that gleamed with embedded technology. "People of Earth," the figure spoke, its voice deep and resonant. "I am Emperor Vorak of the Zephyrian Empire, ruler of 1,000 star systems and 10,000 worlds. Your primitive signals have reached our territory, and we have come to claim your system as part of our dominion." Carter stepped forward. "This is President Lisa Carter of Earth. We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization, but Earth and its colonies are sovereign territories." Emperor Vorak's multiple eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture that seemed dismissive. "Sovereignty is an illusion maintained by those with power. You have none. You will submit to Zephyrian rule, or you will be eradicated. You have 48 Earth hours to surrender your leadership and prepare your people for integration. Resistance is futile and will result in the destruction of your civilization. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the room in stunned silence. Carter stood motionless for several seconds before turning to her chief of staff. Activate red code. I want the Strategic Council assembled in 15 minutes. As the room erupted into activity, Carter moved to a private communication booth and pressed her palm against the scanner. The booth sealed, and a secure connection opened to the Defiant. Admiral Morrison, she said when his face appeared on the screen. Madam President, Morrison replied, his expression grim. I assume you received the same transmission we did. Yes, Jack. You've studied theoretical space warfare longer than anyone. What are we facing? Morrison's eyes were hard. Based on what we've seen, their technology is centuries beyond ours. Their fleet could obliterate our defenses in minutes. Carter nodded, absorbing the brutal assessment. Then we need something beyond conventional defense. Meet me at the Strategic Council. Bring your wildest ideas. At the orbital station, circling Earth, Captain Steve Parker watched the Zephyrian fleet through the observation deck's window. Behind him, technicians worked frantically to analyze the alien vessels. Captain, one called out, you need to see this. Parker moved to the console, where a technician had isolated energy readings from the alien ships. Their power signatures are fluctuating, the technician explained. It's as if they're struggling to maintain stability after the wormhole jump. Parker studied the readings, his military mind already calculating possibilities. Keep monitoring. I want every piece of data you can get on those ships. In the Strategic Council chamber, 20 of Earth's brightest minds gathered around a circular table. Military leaders, scientists, diplomats, and intelligence officers, all brought together by humanity's greatest crisis. President Carter entered, followed by Admiral Morrison and Dr. Walsh. Ladies and gentlemen, Carter began, we face an existential threat. The Zephyrian Empire has given us 48 hours to surrender or face annihilation. I need options. General Thompson, head of the Planetary Defense Force, spoke first. Madam President, a direct military confrontation would be suicide. Their technology far outmatches ours. Then surrender is our only option? Carter asked, her voice sharp. It may be the only way to preserve human lives, a diplomat suggested. At what cost? Morrison countered. Based on Emperor Vorek's message, integration likely means enslavement. We'd be trading our freedom for survival. The room erupted into debate, fear battling against defiance. Dr. Walsh cleared her throat, and the room gradually fell silent. I've been studying the transmission. Emperor Vorek spoke of 1,000 star systems and 10,000 worlds. If these figures are accurate, the Zephyrian Empire is vast, but that creates a strategic weakness. She activated the room's holographic projector, displaying a rough map. To control such a vast territory, they must spread their forces thin. What we're seeing may be a significant portion of their fleet, not just a small expeditionary force. Captain Parker, who had joined them from the orbital station, stood up. Dr. Walsh's observation aligns with our findings. The Zephyrian ships show signs of energy depletion following their arrival. Their technology is advanced, but they may have limitations we can exploit. A spark of hope ignited in the room. What kind of limitations? Carter asked. Parker pulled up the data his team had collected. Their ships emit radiation patterns consistent with antimatter reactors, but the fluctuations suggest inefficiency. Their weapon systems appear to be primarily energy-based, lasers and plasma weapons. No signs of kinetic weapons or missiles. Morrison leaned forward. That's significant. Energy weapons require tremendous power. If their reactors are already strained, there's something else, Walsh added. The transmission contained embedded data, cultural markers, linguistic patterns. The Zephyrian Empire appears to be hierarchical and rigid. Innovation may not be their strength. Carter absorbed this information, her mind racing. So we have a technologically superior, but potentially inflexible enemy, with strained resources spread across a vast empire. She looked around the table. I need ideas. How do we use this? For hours, they debated strategies, from diplomatic negotiations to guerrilla warfare. As the discussion continued, a message arrived from one of Earth's deep space monitoring stations. Madam President, a communications officer interrupted. We're receiving encrypted transmissions from within the Zephyrian fleet. They appear to be coming from ships at the periphery of their formation. Walsh rushed to analyze the signals. These are not Zephyrian in origin, she announced after several minutes. They're from at least 3 different species, using frequencies designed to avoid Zephyrian detection. They're reaching out to us. What do they want? Carter asked. Walsh's fingers flew across her console. They're identifying themselves as subject species within the Empire. They're offering help. The room fell silent. It could be a trap, General Thompson warned. Or it could be our first allies, Morrison countered. An empire that rules through fear creates enemies within its own ranks. Carter made a decision. Respond to the transmissions. Tell them we're willing to listen. What followed was a revelation. The subject species, the insectoid Krell, the aquatic Midorians, and the silicon-based Lithosians had been conquered by the Zephyrians centuries ago. They served as laborers, soldiers, and technicians throughout the Empire, but many harbored deep resentment toward their rulers. The Zephyrian technology is not as advanced as it appears. A Lithosian representative explained in subsequent communications. Their weapons and ships are based on designs stolen from conquered worlds. They haven't innovated in centuries. Their strength lies in numbers and brutality, not ingenuity. This information transformed the Strategic Council's approach. If the Zephyrians were technologically stagnant, perhaps humanity's greatest advantage was its adaptability and creativity. What if we don't fight them directly? Parker suggested. What if we fight asymmetrically? A plan began to take shape. Bold, desperate, and unconventional. While the Zephyrian fleet held position at the edge of the solar system, waiting for Earth's surrender, humanity prepared for a battle unlike any in its history. The 48-hour deadline approached. President Carter stood before a global audience, her address broadcast to every human settlement in the solar system. Citizens of Earth and her colonies, she began. We face a moment of profound choice. The Zephyrian Empire demands our surrender and threatens our annihilation. They believe we will choose safety over freedom, servitude over sovereignty. She paused, her gaze steady. They are wrong. Humanity does not bow to tyranny, no matter how powerful the tyrant. We have faced extinction before, from our own weapons, from environmental collapse, from cosmic threats. Each time, we have survived through ingenuity, courage, and unity. Today, I inform Emperor Vorak and the Zephyrian Empire that Earth refuses to surrender. We choose freedom, whatever the cost. Across the solar system, humans listened in stunned silence. Many believed it was a death sentence. Others felt a surge of pride that humanity would face its end on its feet, not on its knees. But what most didn't know was that while Carter spoke, Operation Defiance was already underway. In the days since the Zephyrian arrival, Earth's AI systems had been working continuously, analyzing the alien technology from the limited data available. Quantum computers processed combat scenarios, seeking vulnerabilities. Engineers and scientists worked without rest, adapting existing weapons and developing new ones. Meanwhile, through covert channels, Earth's new allies provided critical intelligence about Zephyrian tactics, communication protocols, and command structures. As Carter concluded her address, Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiant, now positioned near the orbit of Mars. All ships, maintain communication blackout. Proceed to jump coordinates at sublight speed only. No engine signatures above minimum. Across the solar system, 200 ships, Earth's entire military fleet, began moving silently toward predetermined positions. Not toward the Zephyrian Armada, but away from it, toward the Alpha Centauri system. In her private quarters aboard the orbital station, Dr. Walsh meticulously decoded the latest transmission from their allies within the Zephyrian fleet. Emperor Vorak has ordered the fleet to advance at dawn, she informed Carter over a secure channel. They plan to target major population centers first, to force our capitulation. Carter nodded grimly. And our friends? In position. 20% of the Zephyrian fleet is crewed by subject species sympathetic to our cause. When the moment comes, they'll act. The pieces were in place. The most audacious gambit in human history was about to begin. As the first light of dawn broke over North America, the Zephyrian fleet began moving toward Earth. 3,000 warships, arranged in perfect formation, advanced with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat. From his command ship, Emperor Vorak watched with satisfaction. These primitives would learn, as countless others had before them, that resistance against the Zephyrian Empire was futile. Your Majesty, his first officer reported, the humans have no defensive formation. Their ships appear to be fleeing the system. Vorak's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of contempt. As expected, they show courage in words but cowardice in action. Proceed with the bombardment as planned. The massive fleet continued its advance, passing the orbit of Neptune, then Uranus. As they approached Saturn, the first anomaly appeared. Your Majesty, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from Saturn's rings, an officer reported. Before Vorak could respond, hundreds of small objects detached from the rings and accelerated toward the Zephyrian ships. They were mining drones, repurposed in the preceding days to serve as rudimentary but effective weapons. Insignificant, Vorak dismissed. Eliminate them. But the drones didn't attack directly. Instead, they detonated in carefully calculated positions, creating a cascade of ice and rock from Saturn's rings. Suddenly, the perfect formation of the Zephyrian fleet was disrupted as ships maneuvered to avoid the debris. This was merely a distraction. The real trap awaited at the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. For 2 days, Earth's engineers had worked feverishly, planting fusion charges deep within selected asteroids. As the Zephyrian fleet approached, these charges detonated, not to destroy the asteroids, but to alter their trajectories subtly. The result was chaos. Massive rocks, some kilometers wide, drifted into the path of the advancing fleet. The Zephyrians, with their energy weapons designed for direct combat, found themselves ill-equipped to deal with the simple physics of large objects in motion. Dozens of ships were damaged or destroyed. The perfect formation fractured as vessels maneuvered independently to avoid collision. On the bridge of his command ship, Emperor Vorak raged. This is primitive warfare. They dare to challenge us with rocks? Your Majesty, his tactical officer warned. We're detecting energy buildups throughout the asteroid belt. The humans have positioned weapons platforms. Indeed, concealed among the asteroids were Earth's defensive satellites, retrofitted with experimental weapons designed specifically for this confrontation. They didn't fire lasers or plasma, weapons the Zephyrians could easily defend against. Instead, they launched accelerated tungsten rods, simple kinetic weapons that required no exotic technology, but delivered devastating impact force. More Zephyrian ships fell, their energy shields designed to disperse directed energy, but ineffective against solid mass traveling at relativistic speeds. Still, the outcome seemed inevitable. Despite these setbacks, the Zephyrian fleet outnumbered Earth's defenses by orders of magnitude. They pushed forward, approaching Mars, where the final line of human defenses waited. But this, too, was misdirection. While the Zephyrian fleet advanced toward Earth, humanity's military ships had taken a different path. Using the intelligence provided by their new allies, they had identified a critical weakness in the Zephyrian Empire, its command structure. The Zephyrians, for all their technological might, relied on a rigid hierarchy. Emperor Vorak's command ship contained the central communications array that coordinated the entire fleet. Disrupt that, and the perfect machine would falter. In the Alpha Centauri system, the closest star to Earth, Captain Parker led a small strike force of 50 ships, the fastest and most maneuverable in Earth's arsenal. With them were representatives from the Krell, Midorians, and Lithosians, carrying crucial technical knowledge. All ships, final preparations for Operation Alpha, Parker ordered. Remember, we get one shot at this. The plan was both simple and incredibly complex. The Zephyrians, focused on Earth, had left minimal defenses at their rear, using data from their allies. Earth's forces had plotted a precise path that would allow them to approach the command ship from its blind spot. Meanwhile, the subject species within the Zephyrian fleet were about to play their part. As the fleet engaged with Earth's defenses around Mars, strange malfunctions began to occur throughout the Zephyrian ships. Weapon systems failed. Communications became garbled. Navigation computers showed incorrect data. "Your Majesty," Vorak's first officer reported, panic evident in his voice. "We're experiencing system-wide failures. Something is corrupting our networks." In the preceding days, sympathetic members of the subject species had planted subtle viruses throughout the fleet systems. Now activated, these programs didn't shut down the Zephyrian technology. That would have been detected immediately. Instead, they introduced small errors, cumulative failures that created confusion rather than catastrophe. It was at this moment of confusion that Captain Parker's strike force emerged from Lightspeed directly behind the Zephyrian command ship. "Lightning Squadron, execute attack pattern Omega," Parker ordered. "Phoenix Squadron, provide covering fire. Remember, the target is the communication array only." Earth's ships accelerated toward the massive Zephyrian command vessel. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had surprise and precision on their side. The Zephyrian rearguard responded, but their reactions were slowed by the systemic failures plaguing the fleet. Energy weapons lashed out, destroying several Earth vessels, but the remaining ships pressed forward. Parker's vessel took a direct hit, the bridge sparking with electrical fires. "Maintain course," he shouted over the chaos. "We need to get the package delivered." The package was humanity's secret weapon, an AI virus developed specifically to infiltrate the Zephyrian command systems. Unlike the simple disruptions caused by their allies, this virus would give Earth control of the Zephyrian communication network. 5 ships from Parker's squadron broke formation, accelerating directly toward the command ship's communication array. 4 were destroyed by defensive fire, but the 5th, piloted by Lieutenant Commander Maya Rodriguez from the Defiant, reached its target. "Package delivered," Rodriguez reported, as her ship made contact with the array. A specialized boarding team deployed, carrying the physical component of the virus, a quantum processor that would bridge the gap between human and Zephyrian technology. They had 90 seconds before the Zephyrian security protocols would detect and eliminate them. In the command ship's central chamber, Emperor Vorak received increasingly desperate reports. "Your Majesty, intruders have breached the communication array." "Eliminate them!" Vorak commanded. "Security teams are responding, but our systems are." "Your Majesty, we're losing control of the communication network." Across the Zephyrian fleet, confusion turned to chaos as the command structure collapsed. Ships received contradictory orders or no orders at all. Some fired on perceived threats that weren't there. Others targeted their own allies, deceived by false identification signals generated by the virus. On Earth, President Carter watched the battle unfold through data relayed from observation posts throughout the solar system. The Zephyrian advance had halted. Their perfect formation, now a scattered mess of individual ships acting without coordination. "It's working," Admiral Morrison said, his voice tight with controlled excitement. "The virus is spreading through their command network." Carter nodded, her expression solemn. "Begin Phase 3. Phase 3 was the counterattack. Earth's defensive platforms around Mars, which had been conserving energy, now activated at full power, not targeting the disorganized Zephyrian ships, but the space between them. Massive electromagnetic pulses rippled through the fleet, further disrupting their already compromised systems. Ships that might have recovered from the communication failure now found their backup systems disabled. From the asteroid belt, a second wave of kinetic projectiles launched, precisely targeted using data from the compromised Zephyrian network. Unlike the first wave, which had been designed to disrupt, these were weapons of destruction, aimed at the most vulnerable points of the alien vessels. Simultaneously, the subject species aboard the Zephyrian ships made their move. Krell engineers disabled engine controls. Madorian navigators locked autopilot systems. Lithosian technicians sabotaged power distribution networks. One by one, Zephyrian ships became dead in space or, worse, turned their weapons on other Zephyrian vessels, unable to distinguish friend from foe through their corrupted sensors. In the command ship, Emperor Vorak watched in disbelief as his invincible armada tore itself apart. "This is impossible," he whispered. "They are primitives. They have no interstellar capability. How could they?" His first officer, a loyal Zephyrian who had served him for decades, drew a weapon. "The Empire has failed, Your Majesty. The subject species are in revolt across the fleet. We must retreat while we still can." Vorak's 6 eyes widened in shock, then narrowed in fury. "Retreat? The Zephyrian Empire does not retreat. We are supreme. We are—" The officer fired, the energy blast catching Vorak in the chest. "The Empire is finished," he said simply, turning to the remaining bridge crew. "All loyal Zephyrians, abandon ship, return to the homeworld." Throughout the fleet, similar scenes played out. As the command structure collapsed, individual Zephyrian officers made their choices. Some fought to the death, others fled, and still others surrendered to the subject species who had served under them. Within 6 hours of the virus's deployment, the mighty Zephyrian invasion force had been reduced to scattered groups of damaged ships, many drifting powerless in space. On Earth, celebrations erupted as news of the victory spread. What had seemed like certain doom had transformed into humanity's greatest triumph. But in the Strategic Council chamber, President Carter and her advisors knew that this was just the beginning. "The Zephyrians have been defeated here," Admiral Morrison noted, "but their empire spans 1,000 star systems. They will return, with a larger force and prepared for our tactics." "Perhaps," Dr. Walsh countered, "but not necessarily as conquerors." She gestured to the holographic display showing communications from across the Zephyrian Empire. "Reports indicate that subject worlds throughout the Empire are rising up. The news of Earth's resistance has spread faster than the Zephyrians can contain it." "We've become a symbol," Carter realized. "A primitive world that defied the undefeatable Empire." "More than that," Captain Parker added, joining them via holographic projection from his ship in the Alpha Centauri system. "We've become a partner. The Krell, Madorians, and Lithosians don't just want freedom from the Zephyrians. They want to form an alliance with Earth." Carter studied the star map showing the vast expanse of the Zephyrian Empire, now fragmenting as news of the Emperor's defeat spread. "Then we have work to do. Humanity just joined the galactic community, and it seems we've made quite an entrance." In the days that followed, Earth began the process of establishing formal relations with the former subject species of the Zephyrian Empire. Ships that had been disabled rather than destroyed were boarded. Their Zephyrian crews offered the choice between peaceful surrender or continued resistance. Most chose surrender, stunned by the reversal of fortune. Emperor Vorak, grievously wounded, but not killed by his officer's betrayal, was found in an escape pod drifting near Neptune, brought to Earth for medical treatment and imprisonment. He became a living symbol of the Empire's fall. 1 month after the invasion attempt, President Carter addressed a historic gathering. Representatives from Earth, the former subject species, and even several Zephyrian worlds that had chosen to break from the Empire. "The attempt to conquer Earth has led to something none of us could have predicted," she told them. "The fall of an empire built on subjugation and the birth of a new alliance founded on mutual respect and self-determination." She activated a holographic display showing a new map of local space, not divided into imperial territories, but connected by trade routes and communication channels. "I propose the formation of the Galactic Federation of Free Worlds. Not an empire, not a hierarchy, but a cooperative of sovereign peoples, each with the right to determine their own destiny while working together for common security and prosperity." The proposal was met with unanimous approval. The Zephyrian invasion, intended to add one more world to an ancient empire, had instead created something unprecedented, a democratic alliance spanning dozens of star systems, with Earth at its center. In a private moment after the historic vote, Admiral Morrison found President Carter looking out at the stars from the observation deck of the orbital station. "Who would have thought," he said, joining her at the window, "that humanity's greatest moment would come from refusing to surrender?" Carter smiled, though her eyes remained serious. "It wasn't just defiance, Jack. It was innovation, adaptation, and most importantly, cooperation. We survived because we were willing to reach out to others, and they were willing to reach back." She turned to face the vast expanse of space, where the first diplomatic vessels from the new Federation members were arriving. "The Zephyrians thought they were teaching us our place in the galaxy. Instead, we showed them, and ourselves, that the strongest power isn't the one with the biggest fleet or the most advanced weapons. It's the one that inspires others to stand together for something better." Morrison nodded, understanding the weight of the moment. "So what happens now?" "Now," Carter smiled, a genuine expression of hope. "Now, we build something that will last longer than any empire. A federation based not on conquest but on consent, not on fear, but on mutual respect." As they stood there, Earth rotated slowly beneath them, its blue oceans and white clouds unchanged by the cosmic drama that had unfolded around it. But its place in the universe had been transformed forever, from an isolated world at the edge of an unknown galaxy to the birthplace of a new galactic order. The Zephyrian Emperor had ordered Earth to submit, expecting the same fearful compliance he had seen from countless worlds before. Instead, humanity's answer had shocked the galaxy, not just with its defiance, but with its vision of a different way forward. A way where freedom outweighed safety, where innovation overcame oppression, and where hope, against all odds, triumphed over fear.